I was privileged then and always say, for 4 years I was a Detroit Free Press paper boy. On that Sunday morning, I was on my way and made it up to the paper station to get my papers, and I was going to pay the paper station manager, Louis, for the papers from the previous week, which is how we did it. And I was picking up my Sunday papers. I had my big Airedale Hamlet with me, and that was our practice. So I got there, and actually, Rob, I found Louis. He had been beaten up. He had been robbed. I don't know how many paper boys had actually come in and turned in their collections from the previous week, but at some point he had been beaten up, he had been robbed, and he was still there when I got there. And he saw me come up and he said, "Don't worry about getting your papers today. There won't be any home delivery for sure." Then he left. I sat in my wagon with my dog, and I watched the riot. There was right directly across from our paper station a clothing store called Jack's Place. I saw a guy come out of the clothing store with 10 hats on his head, literally in a stack, and carrying bundles of things, of clothes, with them. There were people running around. There were policemen in the area. I didn't know then, but found out later on from my father that they were under express orders not to do anything, and that prayerfully this would be contained in the area where it was going on. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. Then a police officer came up to me and he said, "Young man, I think you ought to go home." And I looked at him and I said, "You know what? I think you're right." So I grabbed my wagon, and interestingly, no one bothered me. I'm just a kid sitting there, and I don't think they were intimidated by my dog either, because he was not an attack dog. This was a big, friendly puff of hair that happened to be an Airedale. We went home. I woke my father up. It was about 4:45. And I said, "Daddy, I think the riot has started." He looked at me and he said, what are you talking about?" I described the scene that I just described to you. He called Mayor Jerome P. Kavanaugh then and said, "Mr. Mayor, this is Conrad Mallet, Sr. My son just reported to me that he thinks the riot had started." The mayor reported to my father. Ray Girardin, who was then the police commissioner, and I had been on the phone for about an hour. "Meet me in the office as soon as you can." My father got up, got dressed. My mother and I did not see him for 3 days.